The morning after the strange night, Eli Turner woke up earlier than usual. The sky outside his window was painted in soft orange and blue, and a light mist covered his garden. For a moment he wondered if everything that happened had just been a dream. The blue light, the strange girl, her glowing eyes. But when he stepped into the greenhouse, he saw her. Lyra was sitting cross-legged between the rows of orchids, her silver hair shining softly in the sunlight. The flowers around her had bloomed fully, though they were not supposed to until next month. Tiny drops of dew floated gently around her, not falling to the ground but drifting in the air like bubbles of light. Eli stood silently, watching the magical sight. "You're awake early," he said quietly. Lyra turned her head and smiled faintly. "I do not sleep much. Your world feels alive. It is hard to rest when everything sings." "Everything sings?" Eli asked, walking closer. She nodded, touching a leaf with care. "The plants, the soil, the air. There is energy everywhere here, soft and bright. We call it the living pulse. My people lost it long ago." Eli didn't understand everything she said, but her words carried a kind of sadness that touched him. He sat beside her, trying to find the right thing to say. "Maybe that's why you like it here. Earth might be small, but it's full of life." Lyra looked at him, her eyes glowing faintly. "Maybe that is why I came here, even without knowing." For the next few days, Eli helped her hide. He brought her books, food, and some of his old clothes. She learned quickly how to use human tools, how to drink tea, and even how to read English signs. She asked endless questions: why humans built cars, why they painted their homes, why they argued so often but still helped strangers in need. Eli found her curiosity charming. "Humans are complicated," he told her one evening while watering the plants. "We do a lot of dumb things, but sometimes we get it right." "You fight against nature," she said softly. "Yet you protect it too. You destroy and create. It is confusing," he chuckled. "You're not wrong." As the days passed, Lyra began helping him in the garden. Wherever she touched, the plants grew faster, stronger, more colorful. Eli was amazed. His greenhouse became a small paradise of bright flowers and glowing leaves. At night, they shimmered faintly under moonlight, as if the stars themselves had settled in his backyard. One afternoon, while Lyra was tending to the plants, Eli noticed something strange on his phone. He was scrolling through local news when a headline caught his eye. "Mysterious lights over town forest, government investigating." His heart skipped a beat. The photo in the article showed a faint blue glow, exactly like the light from Lyra's crash. He looked at her, hesitating. "Lyra, we might have a problem." She turned quickly. "They are looking?" "Yes, the government's probably sending people to check the area. We can't stay here forever." Lyra looked down, her hands trembling slightly. "I thought I had more time," she whispered. "The Seekers. They are near." Eli frowned. "These Seekers, what do they want from you?" She hesitated for a long moment, then finally spoke. "I was part of a science group on my world. We were studying energy from living things, the kind that connects life across galaxies. But the Seekers wanted to use it to control minds, to make people obey. I refused. I destroyed my research and escaped. They want me because I carry the last copy of what I learned. Here." She placed her hand over her heart. Eli's chest tightened. "So you're the key to some alien technology, and they'll keep hunting you until they get it?" "Yes," she said quietly. "But it is not technology. It is life energy. You humans might call it spirit," he nodded slowly. "Then we'll have to protect it." "And you?" Lyra looked at him, her eyes soft. "Why do you care so much? You could have turned me in, but you didn't." Eli smiled weakly. "Because you needed someone to care. And maybe I needed someone to remind me why I care at all." For a while, they worked together in silence. The evening sun filtered through the glass, making the greenhouse glow with gold and green light. It felt peaceful and almost unreal, but peace never lasted long. That night, Eli woke to a strange buzzing sound outside. He looked out the window and saw small lights floating above the trees. His stomach dropped. They weren't fireflies. They were drones, dozens of them. He rushed to the greenhouse. "Lyra, wake up! They're back!" Lyra's eyes opened instantly. She stood, her body shimmering faintly. "They have found the signal. I can feel their presence." Eli grabbed his old laptop and a few wires. "We can't fight them, but maybe we can confuse them," he said quickly. You said your tech reacts to living energy, right? She nodded, understanding immediately. Together they ran to the center of the garden. Eli connected her crystal device and a small glowing stone from her ship to a metal pole that powered his irrigation system. The moment he did, the ground pulsed with light. The plants began to move gently as if breathing. Leaves turned toward Lyra, and flowers opened wide, glowing blue. The air filled with tiny sparks of light. Outside, the drones froze mid-air, their red sensors flickering. They can't read our energy, Lyra said in amazement. You linked me to your planet's pulse. Eli smiled nervously. Guess your tech likes my garden. The drones hovered for several seconds more, then flew away into the clouds, disappearing one by one. The glow around the plants faded, leaving only the soft sound of crickets. When it was finally quiet again, Lyra sank to her knees, exhausted but smiling. You saved me again, she whispered. Eli helped her up. Looks like teamwork to me. Over the next few days, they hid deeper. Eli turned his small greenhouse into a safe shelter. He covered it with branches, adjusted the lighting, and used sound blockers to mask heat signatures. Lyra, in return, taught him about the stars, constellations that humans had never named, planets made of crystal oceans, and ancient civilizations that vanished into light. Sometimes, late at night, they would sit together under the starlit roof of the greenhouse. Lyra would look up and whisper the names of stars from her homeworld, and Eli would tell her about Earth's constellations. Slowly, an invisible bond grew between them. Not love yet, but something close to it. Lyra often said, "Your people are small, yet your hearts reach the stars." Eli liked that, but despite the peace between them, he knew the danger was still near. Every night he saw faint red flashes in the distance, seekers still searching, and every morning Lyra looked weaker. Her energy was fading. One morning she confessed, "The living pulse here helps me, but I need my transmitter to call my people. Without it I will soon fade." The crash damaged it, Eli thought hard. Can we fix it? She nodded slowly. Maybe, but it is dangerous. The transmitter core is still in the forest. It gives off a signal. If we go, they might find us. He took a deep breath. Then we'll have to be careful. But we can't stay hiding forever. Lyra looked at him surprised. You would go with me? It is not your fight. Eli met her gaze. Maybe not, but you're my friend. And friends don't let each other face the dark alone. For a moment, she just stared at him. And then she smiled, the first true, bright smile he had seen from her. Then we go together, she said. That night, as the moon rose over the glowing garden, Eli packed a small bag with tools and batteries. Lyra placed her hand over one of the flowers, whispering something in her language. The plant glowed blue and leaned toward her, almost as if saying goodbye. She turned to Eli. The forest will test us, but if we can reach the transmitter, I can call my people for help. He nodded. Then let's bring you home. As they stepped into the dark woods, the wind rustled softly through the glowing leaves, and a faint hum filled the air, as if the entire planet was holding its breath. They didn't know what waited for them in the forest, but one thing was certain. Humanity's courage and alien hope were walking side by side. And together, they were about to change both their worlds forever. The forest was quiet that night, but the silence was heavy, like the world itself was watching. The moonlight filtered through the tall trees, and every step Eli and Lyra took made soft sounds on the damp earth. Eli carried a small flashlight and a backpack filled with tools. Lyra walked beside him, her silver hair glowing faintly in the dark. The air around her shimmered slightly, reacting to her energy. Every now and then she closed her eyes and whispered a few words in her language, following an invisible signal only she could feel. The transmitter is close, she said softly. I can sense its pulse, Eli nodded. We'll find it. Just stay close. They moved carefully, following the faint blue trail that seemed to lead deeper into the woods. Every now and then they heard strange humming noises far away. Drones still searching, scanning the forest with red lights. Eli's heart raced each time he heard them, but Lyra always motioned for silence. After about an hour of walking, they reached a small clearing. In the center was a half-buried piece of metal glowing faintly blue. Sparks of light danced across it like tiny fireflies. Lyra gasped softly. That's it. My transmitter. Eli crouched beside it and brushed away the dirt. The object was smooth and curved like part of a sphere. It looks intact, he said, pulling out his tools. What do we need to do? Lyra knelt next to him. The energy core is damaged. It needs a new power source to restart the link. Eli thought for a moment, then smiled. We can use a battery from my backpack. It might not be alien tech, but power is power. Lyra tilted her head, curious. You think your simple device can connect with this? Eli grinned. Let's find out. He connected 2 wires between the battery and the metal shell. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the transmitter gave off a low hum. Blue light rippled across its surface, growing brighter each second. Lyra's eyes widened. It's working! But before they could celebrate, a loud crack filled the air, followed by the echo of metallic wings. Eli looked up. Red lights were moving through the trees. Dozens of them. Lyra's voice trembled. The Seekers! They found us. Eli's mind raced. We can't fight them. What do we do? Lyra placed her hands on the transmitter. I can send a signal to my people, but it takes time. I need at least 1 minute to complete the call. 1 minute, Eli repeated, taking a deep breath. Then I'll buy you that minute. He grabbed a handful of dirt and tossed it on the battery wires, hiding the glow. Then he picked up a branch, attached a small LED from his flashlight, and threw it in the opposite direction. The red lights immediately shifted toward the false glow. Go, he whispered. They're tracking light. Lyra worked quickly, her hands glowing blue as she pressed symbols on the transmitter. Lines of light spread across the ground, forming patterns that looked like stars. Eli watched in awe, even as fear clawed at his chest. The red lights were returning. The drones were smarter than he thought. Almost there, Lyra said through clenched teeth. Hold on. Eli looked around desperately. Then he saw it. The roots of a huge old tree behind them, its base covered in moss. Over here, he said, pulling her closer. Together, they dragged the transmitter beneath the roots just as the first drone arrived. The drone hovered silently above the clearing. Its red beam scanned the ground, passing inches away from them. Eli held his breath, feeling Lyra's trembling hand in his. The beam lingered, then moved on. After a few seconds, the forest went quiet again. The drone seemed to drift away, fooled by the false signal Eli had thrown earlier. Lyra opened her eyes, relief flooding her face. The signal is sent, she whispered. They will come for me. Eli smiled weakly. Good. Now let's get out of here before those things come back. They hurried through the forest, heading toward the faint lights of Eli's home. The night air was cold and both were tired, but there was hope now. Fragile, glowing hope. When they reached the garden, Lyra stopped and looked around. The plants were glowing faintly again, reacting to her energy. Your garden, she whispered. It feels like it knows me. Eli smiled. Maybe it does. You've been talking to it every day. She laughed softly, the sound gentle like wind chimes. I think it likes you too, he chuckled. I'd hope so. I've been taking care of it for years. The laughter faded as a low rumble echoed in the distance. They looked up, and their eyes widened. High above the clouds, a massive shape appeared, glowing silver and blue. It wasn't a seeker ship. Its light was softer, its shape round and elegant. Lyra's eyes filled with tears. My people, they came. The ship descended slowly, its light covering the garden in silver beams. The plants shimmered brighter as if celebrating. Eli took a step back, shielding his eyes. That's beautiful, he whispered. A smaller beam of light descended from the ship and stopped just above the garden. It formed into a platform of soft blue energy. Lyra turned to him, sadness and gratitude mixing in her expression. I must go, she said quietly. If I stay, the Seekers will return. But before I leave, she hesitated, then reached out and placed her hand over his chest. A small pulse of warmth spread through him, gentle and calming. I want you to have a piece of what I carry, the living pulse. It will keep your garden alive, and maybe remind you that you are part of something bigger. Eli's voice was soft. You don't have to thank me, she shook her head. I am not thanking you. I am trusting you, because kindness like yours is what my world forgot. He smiled sadly. Then take some of ours with you. Lyra stepped onto the light platform. For a moment she looked back at him. The human who had hidden her, fed her, and believed in her when no one else would. Eli Turner, she said, her voice clear and strong. You showed me what humanity truly means. I will never forget. Then the platform rose into the air. The ship's light grew brighter until the night sky glowed like day. The hum of its engines was deep and steady, filled with harmony instead of fear. And then, in a flash of silver, it was gone. Eli stood there for a long time, staring at the empty sky. The garden around him was quiet again, but not the same. The air shimmered faintly, and the flowers, his simple, ordinary flowers, now glowed with soft blue veins. They pulsed like tiny hearts. He walked slowly through the rows of plants, running his fingers across the petals. Each one felt warm, alive. The living pulse she spoke of had taken root here in his small piece of earth. Days turned into weeks. The seekers never came back. The local news stopped talking about the lights in the forest. Life seemed normal again, but Eli knew better. Every night he would sit in his garden, look up at the stars, and wait for a flicker of blue light. Sometimes he thought he saw one. One evening, as he watered the glowing plants, he noticed something new. A small flower had grown overnight, pure white with blue edges that shimmered faintly. Inside the petals was a symbol glowing like a heartbeat. He smiled softly. "Guess you're still watching over me, huh?" The wind moved gently through the garden, carrying a faint hum, the same sound he once heard when Lyra spoke to the plants. He leaned back, looking up at the night sky full of stars. "You know," he said quietly, "maybe we humans aren't so small after all." A single shooting star streaked across the sky, leaving behind a trail of blue light. Eli watched it fade and smiled. In the quiet of his garden, surrounded by glowing life, he felt something he hadn't felt in years. Connection. Not just to the earth, but to the stars beyond it. Humanity's light, he realized, was not about power or machines. It was about kindness, courage, and the simple act of helping someone who needed it. And somewhere far away, across galaxies, an alien named Lyra carried that light with her. The light of one ordinary human who dared to care. The research ship Odyssey Dawn moved silently through the stars. Its mission was simple: study new worlds and gather samples for the Terran Science Council. For Captain Elena Rios, it was supposed to be a short expedition near the edge of known space. The crew of 12 humans worked together smoothly, confident and proud to represent humanity among the stars. But then, on the 6th day of their journey, something went wrong. Without warning, the ship's navigation system flickered. The lights dimmed. A low alarm began to echo through the metal halls. Lieutenant Harris, the pilot, tried to stabilize their path, but a strange pull dragged the ship off course. The stars outside the windows blurred like water, and a planet appeared suddenly ahead. A massive green and blue sphere filled with swirling clouds. "Brace for impact," Elena shouted. Moments later, everything went white. When Elena woke up, the sky above her was gold. The air smelled like wet leaves and something sweet, like honey. She could hear strange calls, like singing mixed with animal sounds. The ship lay half buried in the jungle, its hull cracked open and smoke rising. Her crewmates were scattered but alive. One by one, they gathered outside. Harris, covered in dust, checked the ship's systems. The engineer, Dr. Lena Kaur, inspected the damage. "Hyperdrive's gone," she said quietly. "Communications too. We're stranded." Elena stood still for a moment, breathing deeply. The forest around them pulsed with light. Trees rose like towers, their leaves glowing faintly green. Insects shaped like glass hovered nearby, and the soil shimmered when touched. "We'll make it work," she said firmly. "We're human. We adapt." They set up a small camp near the ship's remains. Over the next few days, the crew focused on survival, collecting water, building shelters from the wreckage, and studying local plants for food. Dr. Lena found that some fruits were edible, and glowing vines gave clean water when squeezed. It was strange, but it worked. At night, the jungle hummed. The sound was peaceful, like a deep song sung by the planet itself. But sometimes Elena felt eyes watching from the shadows. One morning, as Harris checked the solar batteries, he noticed something unusual: footprints near the camp. They were large, with 3 toes and deep heel marks. "Not animal. Something intelligent, maybe explorers like us," Harris suggested. But Elena shook her head. "If they were explorers, they'd have left signs. This looks like a tribe. They didn't have to wait long to find out." That night, the humans saw movement near the edge of camp. Shapes appeared in the mist, tall figures with long arms moving silently between the glowing trees. Their skin reflected moonlight like polished stone. They carried no weapons, only curved wooden sticks that seemed decorative. Their eyes shone a deep amber color. Elena raised her hand slowly. "We mean no harm," she said, though she knew they couldn't understand. The creatures stayed still, watching. Then, without sound, they vanished back into the forest. For the next few days, the humans noticed small gifts left near their camp, bright stones, fruits, and flowers arranged in patterns. In return, Elena ordered the crew to leave shiny metal scraps and food packages. It became a silent trade. Trust built without words. Then came the turning point. A week later, a storm rolled across Uraka Prime. The wind roared and the glowing trees bent dangerously. During the chaos, a young alien, barely half Elena's height, was caught near the camp. A heavy branch fell, trapping it beneath. Without thinking, Elena ran through the rain, pulling the branch away. The creature's large amber eyes blinked up at her, terrified. She smiled and held out her hand. "You're okay now," she whispered, though it couldn't understand. When the storm passed, the aliens returned. This time they came openly. About 20 of them stood at the tree line. Their leader, taller and wearing feathered bands across his arms, stepped forward. He looked at Elena, then at the rescued child standing beside her. The child reached out and touched Elena's hand. The leader nodded slowly and made a gesture, pointing to the sky, then to the forest, then to her. A message of peace, simple and universal. Over the next days, cautious communication began. The aliens, later known as the Tarek, visited more often. They spoke in musical tones, each word a mixture of clicks and hums. The humans tried to repeat them, causing laughter among the Tarek. In return, the Tarek mimicked human words, their deep voices shaping awkward versions of hello and thank you. Dr. Lena created small picture charts to teach and learn words. Soon they knew enough to share basic ideas: food, safety, family, friend. It was slow but real progress. Elena was fascinated by the Tarek's world. They lived high in the glowing trees, building homes from woven leaves and crystal-like resin. Their entire society moved in harmony with nature. They didn't cut trees, they shaped them as they grew. Their songs, Elena learned, helped plants grow faster. The Tarek said the planet listened when you treated it kindly. For the humans, it was both humbling and inspiring. Not everyone in the crew agreed with Elena's approach. Lieutenant Harris grew restless. "We should be repairing the ship, not playing with aliens," he argued one night. "We're explorers, not settlers." Elena met his gaze calmly. "We can't repair what's beyond our means. We survive by learning. These people, these Tarek, can teach us how." Harris sighed but said nothing more. Deep down, even he knew she was right. The jungle was too vast and unpredictable to face alone. Weeks passed. The humans and Tarek began sharing food and songs. The humans taught them simple tools: how to sharpen stones into blades, how to make rope from vines, and how to store rainwater in sealed containers. The Tarek taught them to read the patterns of the glowing plants to predict weather changes. A quiet friendship grew between species. Sometimes the Tarek children followed the humans everywhere, laughing when they stumbled through the uneven terrain. Harris even taught one how to whistle, a sound that made the Tarek burst into delighted laughter. Yet, even as peace settled over the camp, Elena couldn't forget one truth: they were still stranded light years from home. And though the Tarek were kind, there were other tribes out there unseen and unpredictable. One evening, as the sun set in twin colors, orange and violet, Elena stood at the camp's edge. The Tarek chief joined her, looking at the sky. He pointed to the stars and made a gesture, a sweeping motion like wings flying away. Then he touched his chest and then hers. Elena understood. He was asking where they came from. She smiled sadly. "Far," she said softly. "Very far." The chief nodded and hummed a deep tone that felt like understanding. Then he pointed to the forest and to her camp, and made a circle with his hands, together. It was clear: the Tarek wanted the humans to live among them, not as guests, but as part of their tribe. That night, Elena gathered her crew. "We've been invited to join them," she said. "They're offering food, shelter, and safety. But it means living by their ways." Silence fell. Harris crossed his arms. "You mean giving up our home? Our identity?" Elena looked at the faces around her, tired, hopeful, uncertain. "No," she said softly. "It means surviving. It means learning. Humanity doesn't lose itself by adapting. It grows stronger." Slowly, one by one, the crew nodded. Outside, the Terek sang a gentle song under the glowing trees. The melody echoed through the night, warm and welcoming. Elena stepped out into the light, her eyes filled with quiet determination. The humans had come from the stars, but perhaps, for now, the stars had brought them exactly where they needed to be.